guys, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new, welcome. In today's video, I will be showing you how to crochet the Honeybee Spring Sweater.
You'll be needing a crochet hook. I am going to be using the 6mm. Some type of scissors or anything to cut your ends. A darning needle. Some stitch markers. Something very important for this project will be something to measure yourself. I'm using this measuring tape that has both inches and centimeters. You will also need yarn. I will be using 3 colors, this banana yellow, lime drop green, and crocus purple. With my green color, I will be starting off with a slip knot. We are going to start off with a simple chain. The length of your chain will be the width of your shoulders, or a bit extra if you want your sweater to be oversized. I like mine on the oversized side, so I will be chaining 68. Make sure you chain in pairs of 2. So after you have chained your desired length, you are going to chain an extra 3. After you have chained your extra 3, you are going to do a treble crochet into the 4th chain from the hook. We are going to mainly be using treble crochets in this entire project. So if you don't know how to do a treble crochet, I will link a in-depth tutorial down below. After you have completed your first treble crochet, you are now going to chain 1. You are going to skip 1 and do a treble crochet in the next stitch. Once again, we are going to do a treble crochet by yarning over twice, skipping a stitch, and then working to the next. And you're gonna yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over, pull through the last 2 and chain 1. The chain 1 and skip 1 will allow us to create a mesh stitch. We will be repeating this for the rest of round 1. Before completing our last treble crochet of round 1, we are going to pull through until we only have 2 loops on our hook. This is the part where we change color if you are using more than one color. This is how you do it. Taking your next color, mine will be the purple color, you are going to yarn it over your hook and pull through those 2 loops on your hook to complete the treble crochet. Holding on to that end just to make it more secure, you're then going to chain 4 with the new color to start off round 2. Before moving on to round 2, I will be cutting off the previous color that we used. And after that, I will be tying a double knot with both of the colors and both of the tails just to secure them. You can totally do whatever you want. I just feel that this is the easiest. We are then going to turn our work and start the next round. Round 2 will be different from round 1. We won't be doing a mesh round. We are going to be doing a solid round. So that means we are going to work into the gaps and the stitches. Our first treble crochet of the round will go right into the first gap. We are not going to chain this time. Our second treble crochet will go straight into that stitch. The next one will be in the gap. And the next one will be in the stitch. We are going to be repeating that pattern for the rest of round 2. At the end of round 2, we are going to do our second last treble crochet into a stitch. And then our last treble crochet will be going into that final gap, where we will once again stop when we have 2 loops on our hook. And we are now going to change color again. The next color I will be using will be the yellow color. We are going to connect it the exact same way we did round 2, by yarning it over our hook and then pulling through both those loops. Holding on to that tail end, we are going to then chain 4 to start the next round. Once again, I will be cutting off the previous color and then making a double knot with the 2 ends, just to make it more secure. For the next round, we are going to do a mesh round, not a solid, a mesh round. So we are going to start our first treble crochet into that second stitch. We are going to skip the one we have chained in and then go into the next one and do our first treble crochet for round 3. And then we're going to chain 1, skip 1, and then treble crochet into the next. And once again, we are going to repeat this for the entire round. To make sure that you have worked into the correct stitch, you will see your treble crochets lining up. Your first mesh stitch will line up with your second mesh stitch, and so on and so forth. Finishing off this round, you are going to work your last treble crochet by skipping that first stitch and then going into that next one. And once again, we are going to stop when we only have 2 loops on our hook, and here we are once again going to change color. I'm going to use my green yarn again, and just like the other 2 rounds, we are going to yarn it over a hook, pull through both of those loops, and chain 4. I am cutting off the previous round and making a double knot with both of the ends to secure it. We are going to turn our work and start our 4th round and our second solid round. So this will be a solid round. So that means we are not going to chain one or skip any. We're going to do our first one into that gap, and then our next one into a stitch, and then into a gap and into a stitch. And we are going to repeat that for the rest of the round. After you have finished your fourth round, you are going to change color again by yarning it over the hook and pulling it through both of the loops. And then chaining 4. For the rest of the panel, we are going to repeat this pattern. Mesh and solid, all the way till the end. I did a total of 18 rounds, but you can do however many you'd like. It all depends on you. If you want your sweater more cropped, you do less rows. If you want it more oversized, you do more. We will be making 2 panels, so be sure to repeat this for both panels. Make sure that you end off with a solid round. This will make it much easier to connect the 2 panels for the neckline. Just to give you an example, this is what my first panel looks against me. It is a lot wider than my shoulders because I really do like the whole dropped shoulder look. It's oversized and cute. I like it a lot. And it's more comfortable for me, but this is just an example of how mine is looking. You'll be making 2 of these.
Now that we have our 2 panels, we are ready to sew them together. You can make your panels as long as you would like. I did 16 rows of solid and mesh rows. Remember to end off with a solid row. So whatever amount of rows you do, just make sure you end off with a solid. It will make it easier to connect it on the top for the neck. So what we're going to do is we're going to sew over here and leave a gap for the arm. Same on the other side. And then we're gonna do the same basically on top, just leaving a gap for the neck. So we're gonna sew across there. So these measurements all depend on you and how big you want your arm, or how wide you want your arm, or how wide you want your neck opening to be. If you like it a little more tighter at the neck, you're obviously going to make it smaller. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do, but this totally depends on you. I made this sweater super customizable so that you don't really need a certain amount of rows or a certain amount of stitches. You can totally customize this any way you'd like. So over here I have my handy measuring tape, and I'm just gonna show you my measurements that I'm going to do for the neck. I am measuring out 19 centimeters, and I'm just placing my stitch marker right over there. So what you want to do right now to make it accurate on the other side, you're not going to measure the other side, you're going to actually count the stitches and then count the stitches from the other side inward, so it's the same. So I counted 22 stitches. So I'm going to do the same on the other side. Once you've counted, just place your stitch marker. There you have it. Now you're going to take the other panel and do exactly the same, just by counting your stitches. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the stitch marker that is on the first panel, and I'm gonna connect them together so they line up perfectly. Let's do the other side. Now that you have your desired width of your neck hole, you're going to sew this together. I'm going to do the slip stitch method with my crochet hook. Make sure you do it with the same color as the top row. just so it blends in nicely. You're going to take your crochet hook, place it into that first stitch, and place it into the second panel's first stitch. So a lot of people do this differently. This is how I do it. Just to secure it, I take the loop and I go through both of these stitches. And then I actually chain one. Right before I even go on, I tie this end to another end on the sweater, just to make sure that it is really secure. I'm going to turn my work halfway. Now that you have turned your work, in the same stitch that you did that chain one, you're going to do a slip stitch. Make sure you line up the stitches. Go into the second stitch of the first panel and the second stitch of the second panel. Yarn over, go through the loops, and pull through. Do that again. You're gonna do it all the way up until your stitch marker. Once you get to your stitch marker, you're going to do the last slip stitch. What you're going to do now is you're going to take out your hook and place a stitch marker in the loop. And before cutting the yarn to start the other side of the neckline, you're going to leave a moderately long tail before you cut it off. The reason we are doing this is so that after you did the other side of your neckline and you don't like the width of the neckline, you can either frog it or you can put more stitches. So you have enough yarn to do that if you don't like the outcome of it. We are going to do the same on the other side. Just insert your hook into the first 2 stitches from the side, and this is the way I do it. I pull through both of the loops and then I chain one. I then do a slip stitch in the same stitch I did that chain, and then we're just gonna repeat the same thing that we did on the other side. So slip stitching up until your stitch marker. After that, you're going to make the loop, put your stitch marker in the loop, and leave a long tail, long enough to do a few more stitches if you like. So the next step is to put this on over your neck and see if you like the width of it. So if you do like the width of your neck, we are going to take out the stitch marker, loop in our hook, yarn over, pull the entire thing. The same on the other side. Before we do anything with slip stitching these sides together, we are going to weave in the ends. Alright, so we all hate this part. If you really want to, you can weave in the ends across like that, but I really hate it, and don't come at me for this, but I am going to double knot all of my ends. Make sure they are double knotted, and I am going to literally cut it off. Cutting it off. A lot of people kind of cringe at this, but I absolutely hate weaving in ends. So I just prefer doing this, especially with all of this color change. And in the end, you won't be able to see this because you're gonna crochet all over it. But you can totally weave it in any way you'd like. This is just the way I do it. Now that we have either cut off our ends or weaved in our ends, we are going to measure out the width of the arm, and we are gonna slip stitch the sides together. Once again, this all depends on you and how wide you want your armhole to be. You can make it super baggy, you can make it tighter, it all depends on you. Super customizable. I'm going to start slip stitching the sides together on the 6th row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In my case, the purple mesh row. And we're gonna start at the bottom of the row that we've chosen. You're going to insert your hook into that stitch over there, and the same on the other side. This is going to be the same thing that we did on top, just on the side. It's going to be a tiny bit more difficult because we're gonna have to work through those stitches, and sometimes it's kind of tedious, but it's fine. The end product is totally worth it. We are going to take our green yarn or whatever yarn color you want to use. I'm using the color that this panel ends with, just because I think it's gonna look better. Keep in mind, we are going to turn our work inside out after we have connected the panels, before we start the arms. We're going to do the same thing, chain 1 and slip stitch into that same space. And now you're going to go, it's kind of hard to see because there's so much going on with the snipped off ends and all those things. So just go where you feel is right, but try to line them up perfectly. And then you're just gonna slip stitch all the way down. You'll have to have some patience while doing this, but it's going to be worth it at the end. All right, once you're done, this is how it's gonna look like. You're going to yarn over, pull through, cut the yarn, and pull through, and just tighten it up. Now we have our armhole right over here. Let's do this on the other side. Now that we have connected the panels, we are going to turn our work inside out. So we have a clean seam on the other side. As you can see, this is what it's looking like on the side. And this is where we are going to start our arm. So we're going to find the top of our shirt at the shoulder, and we're going to insert our hook into a stitch in the middle. It's gonna be kind of tough getting in there, but we are not going to work into the stitch. We are only connecting our yarn to it. I am once again using my green yarn to start off this row. Once again, we're going to chain 1. So what we're going to do to start off the arm, we are going to do single crochets into the gap spaces. So we are going to do 4 single crochets in every single space. Starting with the first one, we're going to do 1, but I do recommend you putting in a stitch marker because we are going to be working in the round. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We won't be working in any stitches. We are just going to work in the spaces. So in the next space, you're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. One, 2, 4. When you get to the halfway point, you're going to want to go into a stitch, but don't. It's going to feel like you're literally leaving a big gap there, but you're not going to. You're just going to start your next set of 4 into the next space. You see? It looks fine. And then we're just going to repeat this all the way around. Once you did your last single crochet into the space, you're going to insert your hook into that first single crochet that you did and slip stitch and then chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The pattern for the arms are exactly the same as the pattern on the body. We're going to start off with a solid row, so we're going to do a treble crochet in each of the single crochets that we did. So once again, to do a treble crochet, we are going to yarn over twice, insert our hook into the stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. And we're just going to do that all the way around. Before we end off the round, we are going to connect a new color if you want the same pattern on your sleeve as on the body. I am going for the striped pattern, so I'm going to change colors. So before completing the treble crochet, you're going to connect your new yarn. You are going to slip stitch into that first treble crochet and also the chain. You are then going to chain 4, and this round is going to be a mesh round. So we're going to skip the first stitch and we're going to treble crochet into the next one. And then we're going to chain 1, treble crochet, skip that one, and treble crochet in the next one. And we're going to do that all the way around. I am going to say that I am double knotting the ends as I go, and I'm cutting it off as I go. So before we finish off this last treble crochet, once again, we are not going to finish it. We are going to connect our new color. New chain 1. And slip stitch. And now we're going to do another solid round. And we are going to repeat this until your desired length of your arm. So remember to put it on, try it on, measure it, measure your arm, measure where your shoulder starts, just measure everything and don't be scared to stop and try it on to make sure it is perfect, just the way you want it. For the last 3 rounds of your sleeve, you're just going to do single crochets all around. For the last 3 rounds, I will be changing colors. So before finishing off your last solid or mesh round of your sleeve, you are going to change colors just like we did for the entire project, but right now you're only going to chain 1 to start your single crochet round. For your first single crochet round, if you end up working in a mesh round, you will do exactly the same as you did doing a solid round, just not with treble crochets but with single crochets. And that is it. I am so proud of you. You just crocheted yourself a sweater. Please share your recreations of the Honeybee Spring Sweater with me by DMing me or tagging me in your posts at Honeybee Stitches. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Bye!